Traveling the Vortex.
We're traveling the Vortex and landed in wartime Britain. I'm Glenn, and I'm back with another Fugitive Doctor Adventures review. This time I'm looking at the Big Finish audio, Dead or Alive. This set features 3 stories: Flying Solo by Tahinder Singh Hayer, The Junkyard Loop by Aaron Douglas, and Hereafter by Tim Foley. This is the second set of audios featuring Joe Martin as the Fugitive Doctor. It was released July 17th of 2025. Here's a summary of the first story, Flying Solo. And here's your usual warning, there will be spoilers. The story opens with Officer Mohinder Johal, a young Sikh fighter pilot serving in the Royal Air Force during World War II, being interrogated by RAF superiors after a pub brawl. A soldier mocked his turban. Mohinder defended himself, but the real concern is the accusation that he voiced seditious Indian nationalist sentiments. His commanding officer's discomfort reveals the racism and tension simmering beneath the RAF's wartime unity. Mohinder insists he join the RAF to fly, to seek adventure, not politics. But the seeds of conflict are planted. Meanwhile, the Fugitive Doctor is locked in a frantic chase with Cosmo, the division operative tasked with bringing her in. The Doctor's TARDIS is damaged, leaking volatile chronon energy, a substance that can tear holes in space-time. During a dogfight over the English Channel in 1941, Mohinder's Spitfire is caught in the TARDIS's chronon cloud. The Doctor tries to warn the RAF squadron, but it's too late. Mohinder flies directly into the swirling temporal storm and vanishes. Mohinder's Spitfire becomes saturated with chronon particles, turning his aircraft into a kind of unstable, accidental time machine. He begins slipping uncontrollably through history, specifically his own cultural and ancestral history. Mohinder's first stop, 327 BC, the era of Alexander the Great, during the Macedonian invasion of India. The Doctor, trying to reach him, is captured by Alexander's soldiers and brought before the conqueror himself. Posing as an oracle, she warns him that he can't conquer time. Alexander, proud and fatalistic, accepts her prophecy that he will never return home. The Doctor escapes, but Mohinder slips away again, dragged onward by the Croton Vortex. Mohinder next arrives over Amritsar, his hometown, but not in 1941. It is April 13th, 1919, the day of the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. He recognizes the date instantly. It's the day Brigadier General Dyer will fire on a peaceful crowd. Mohinder is overwhelmed by grief and fury. He wants to intervene, his Spitfire armed, and he could stop the massacre. But the Doctor warns him that altering this moment could shatter history. Mohinder begins suffering from chronon decay, a dangerous condition caused by exposure to raw time energy. He experiences blackouts, euphoria, and disorientation. Mohinder realizes he may die, not in battle, but erased from time itself. Mohinder's next jump takes him to Bengal in 1757, during the events surrounding the Battle of Plassey, a turning point in British colonial rule. Cosmo catches up to him, but coldly informs him that he has only hours left before chronon decay destroys him. Cosmo intends to destroy Mohinder's Spitfire to prevent future temporal disruption. Mohinder refuses to surrender, choosing to die flying rather than be executed by division. The Doctor finally locates Mohinder. Her TARDIS is still damaged, and Cosmo is hunting her, but she refuses to abandon him. She uses the record of their conversations, the temporal imprint of their communication, to stabilize his timeline. She purges the chronon particles, anchoring Mohinder back in his proper era. Mohinder returns to 1941 and reappears over the English Channel moments after he'd vanished. His squadron is stunned, he's alive, whole, and back in his own time. But Cosmo tries to capture the Doctor. Mohinder, still flying hot with residual chronon energy, slices through Cosmo's tractor beam with a Spitfire, freeing the Doctor's TARDIS. It's a triumphant moment. Mohinder saves the Doctor, just as she saved him. They share a quiet, heartfelt farewell. He apologizes for wanting to change history. She tells him, "Fight for a better future in your own time." The Doctor departs, leaving Mohinder with a renewed sense of purpose and a deeper understanding of the history that shaped him. Flying Solo is one of those stories that grabs you early and it never loosens its grip. Mohinder's constant peril becomes the engine of the entire narrative, pushing the plot forward while revealing deeper levels of who he is and what he represents. His journey is compelling not just because of the danger he faces, but because of the internal conflict he carries with him, his identity shaped and strained by the contradictions of serving the British Empire. The story's exploration in colonial trauma is thoughtful and resonant, giving Mohinder a complexity that elevates him far beyond the typical historical guest character. The script also leans hard into the ethics of time travel, and it does so in a way that feels uniquely suited to the Doctor. She's constantly weighing compassion against consequence, trying to help without rewriting history. It's a moral tightrope, and the story lets us feel every wobble. Her rebellious streak is on full display here. She defies vision, authority, and the cold logic of non-interference to save one man's life. It's a small act of defiance with enormous thematic weight, reminding us why this incarnation is so compelling. At the heart of it all is heroism and agency. Mohinder isn't just a passenger in his own story. He chooses courage, integrity, and responsibility even when the universe seems ready to erase him. His arc is one of the strongest emotional through lines in the Fugitive Doctor's audio run so far. And the performances seal the deal. Joe Martin, as always, magnetic, sharp, compassionate, and quietly furious in the right places. But the standout here is Raj Ghatak as Mohinder, who brings vulnerability, strength, and a grounded humanity to every scene. His performance makes the story's themes land with real force. In the end, Flying Solo succeeds because it's not just a tale of survival. It's a story about identity, resistance, and the courage to define yourself even when history tries to write over you. It's intimate, powerful, and another strong entry in the Fugitive Doctor's growing legacy. Next, The Junkyard Loop is a tense, character-driven adventure in which the Doctor attempts to rescue her former companion, Sodalis, from a junkyard planet. This is its summary. The story opens mid-chase. Division Agent Cosmo is hunting the Doctor through the Vortex. The Doctor escapes long enough to receive a mysterious hypercube, containing coordinates and a plea for help from Sodalis, an old companion she barely remembers. The Doctor follows the signal to Hereafter, a planet functioning as a time travel graveyard, littered with wrecked TARDISes and Vortex craft. The Doctor crash lands and is immediately confronted by Sodalis, who has survived alone for years among the wreckage. Their reunion is emotional, suspicious, and fraught with unresolved history. Sodalis proves her identity by recalling intimate details from her past that only the Doctor would know. She reveals that she has been stranded, fighting off time frost parasites, creatures that stun victims, feed on temporal energy, and trap them in a single reoccurring memory. Sodalis has survived by salvaging parts from wrecked time vessels, building a workshop full of TARDIS components. The Doctor learns that the planet is a temporal island where any time-faring vessel loses its connection to the Eye of Harmony, becoming stranded. The two navigate the junkyard, dodging parasites and collapsing dimensional shells. Sodalis is hardened, paranoid, and increasingly violent. Years of isolation have changed her. The Doctor is repeatedly attacked by parasites, each time nearly trapped in a memory loop. Cosmo and a division platoon arrive, having tracked the Doctor, but the real threat is Commander Zentorius, a rogue division officer with his own agenda. He reveals that Division has long used Hereafter as a dumping ground for dangerous time travelers. Zentorius demands answers about the Man in Grey, a mysterious figure tied to the Doctor's forgotten past. The Doctor genuinely doesn't remember. Under pressure, Sodalis breaks. She reveals she's betrayed the Doctor to Division after years of abandonment and torment. Her hypercube message was part rescue plea, part trap. The Doctor is devastated. Zentorius attempts to execute Sodalis. Cosmo protests. The Doctor intervenes, triggering a chaotic standoff. Parasites breach Division's ship. The Doctor and Sodalis flee through collapsing corridors, trying to reach escape pods and the Doctor's TARDIS. Sodalis becomes increasingly unstable, insisting the Doctor must abandon the Division troops to die. The Doctor refuses. As parasites overwhelm the ship, Sodalis chooses to sacrifice herself to buy the Doctor time to escape. She draws the parasites away, allowing the Doctor to reach the TARDIS. Her fate is left ambiguous but heavily implied. She dies trapped in a memory loop. Cosmo contacts the Doctor afterward, shaken by Zentorius' brutality. She argues the Doctor should surrender to prevent further casualties. The Doctor rejects the idea. Division is too corrupt, too dangerous. Cosmo ends the call with a warning. She'll continue the pursuit. The Doctor departs alone, grieving Sodalis and burdened by the mysteries of her forgotten past. Every so often, a Doctor Who story leans into the intimacy of confinement, and the Junkyard Loop absolutely embraces that aesthetic. In television, we'd call this a bottle episode, a story built around limited location and a small cast, forcing the drama inward. Audio dramas don't have sets or visual effects, of course, but this one sounds secluded. The single location setting, the echoing emptiness of Terra Bactor, and the constant sense of being boxed in by wreckage and predators give the entire production a claustrophobic edge. It's a story that traps the Doctor physically, emotionally, and morally. At the center of that confinement is Sedalis, whose years of isolation have left her in a tragic state. She's brittle, paranoid, and shaped by trauma, her mind scarred by the time frost parasites and their memory loop predation. The script uses her instability not as spectacle, but as commentary. She's a living consequence of the Doctor's forgotten past, a reminder that the Fugitive Doctor's era is littered with unresolved relationships and abandoned missions. Sedalis' moral compromises land with real weight. She's someone who has survived too long in a place no one should. The story also pushes deeper into the corruption of division, showing us an organization fractured with internal power struggles and ruthless pragmatism. Commander Zentaurus embodies the worst of it: ambition, cruelty, and a willingness to weaponize the Doctor's past. Through him, the audio reinforces why the Doctor is running, even if she can't remember the reasons. Her missing history becomes the thematic mirror to the parasites themselves. Both trap people in moments they can't escape. Both distort reality, and both threaten to consume what's left of a person. And then there's the emotional core, Sedalis' final act. It echoes classic companion sacrifices, loyalty, bravery, and heartbreak. But here it's complicated by betrayal and resentment. She's not a pure hero nor a simple victim. Her sacrifice lands because of that complexity. It's messy, human, and deeply tied to the Fugitive Doctor's fragmented legacy. In the end, the Junkyard Loop succeeds by narrowing its focus. It's a story about two people trapped in the wreckage of time, one literally, one metaphorically, and the monsters that thrive in the spaces between memory and identity. It's intimate, tense, and quietly devastating, offering one of the most character-rich glimpses yet into the Fugitive Doctor's shadowed past. The last story is Hereafter. Hereafter is a tense, atmospheric Doctor Who story that strands the Doctor and Cosmo on a mysterious mountain where a psychic field has grounded the TARDIS. The story opens with the Doctor and Cosmo crash landing on an unknown planet. Their ships have been dragged down by the psychic dampening field, and Cosmo has the Doctor restrained in energy cuffs. The two are forced into an uneasy truce to survive. Cosmo is prickly and defensive. The Doctor is sarcastic and probing. Their dynamic is tense but oddly playful, setting the tone for the entire adventure. Throughout the story, Cosmo is haunted by visions of her past and her father, Astrobar, whose mind has deteriorated, who speaks cryptically about forbidden relics, alien cultures, and dangerous cosmic alignments. His memories seem fractured, but he hints at truths Cosmo has long suppressed. Back in the present, the Doctor and Cosmo build a fire, arguing about foraging, and begin trekking towards the mountain, the likely source of that psychic field. As they climb, the Doctor begins experiencing strange sensations. She also glimpses a large black dog stalking them through the trees. Cosmo sees it too, briefly, suggesting it's not just a hallucination. The Doctor becomes a reoccurring omen tied to the planet's folklore and the Doctor's own resurfacing memories. They encounter Herma, a young woman gathering firewood. She's wary and kind, and she leads them to her town. She reveals her father recently died and that she's grieving. The town is quaint but unsettling. The Doctor notices topological anomalies like a river flowing upstream and a massive carving of the Queen of the Mountain, a fanged figure wearing a jewel that bends minds at her will. The locals are preparing for the Festival of the Dead, a ritual where bodies are thrown into the river to be carried to the great Hereafter. The town's leader, Mayor Stonex, greets them warmly, but with an undercurrent of menace. He claims Herma's been taken away for her own good. Grief has made her dangerous. He shows Cosmo and the Doctor a bag of sharpened stakes, implying Herma was planning violence. Cosmo, despite her role as jailer, becomes increasingly uneasy. She senses something wrong in the air. Cosmo begins experiencing flashes of memory again tied to the forbidden relics, ancient Gallifreyan artifacts from the Dark Times. She tries to hide this from the Doctor, but the Doctor presses her. The relics seem to connect to the Queen of the Mountain and the psychic field. Cosmo's instability grows, hinting that the relics may be affecting her mind. The Doctor and Cosmo sneak into the law house and free Herma, who reveals the truth. She was sharpening stakes to kill vampires. The Queen of the Mountain is said to be one of them, and the dead have been seen walking again. Herma's father died under suspicious circumstances. The river carrying bodies upstream is part of the legend. The Doctor is skeptical but intrigued, and Cosmo is rattled. The Doctor wants to observe the festival from a safe vantage point. Herma leads them to a tower overlooking the town square and river bridge. Cosmo suddenly panics. She's lost her ring. She runs back to retrieve it, leaving the Doctor and Herma to watch the ritual. The ceremony begins at sundown. The townspeople bring out the bodies, each marked with family crests. Herma sees her father's body carried to the river. She's shaken but composed. The Doctor notes the increasing number of deaths each season. Then she sees a body bound badly, with no crest and a hand sticking out. The Doctor realizes Cosmo's is the last body. The Doctor continues her trek. Inside the mountain lies a vast coral-like temple, the lair of Queen Verdea, a surviving great vampire from the ancient Time Lord Vampire War. Verdea possesses a bloodstone, one of the powerful legend forbidden relics. Verdea reveals that she's been draining the townspeople, not killing them, but keeping them barely alive, suspended like meat in a larder. Her children, malformed vampire spawn, drag bodies from the river into the caves. She wants to leave the planet, but her brood is weak. To regain her strength, she demands the essence of a Time Lord. Verdea offers the Doctor a deal. She will release the TARDIS, and she'll let the Doctor go if she can keep Cosmo as her new champion, and if the Doctor acts as her herald to the Time Lords. The Doctor pretends to accept, but she has a hidden condition of her own. Cosmo is bitten but survives, and when Verdea attempts to drain her, a second forbidden relic activates, Cosmo's ring, a guardian ring, capable of storing a consciousness and unleashing devastating regenerative energy when its wearer is threatened. The ring summons a guardian figure, a man Cosmo recognizes as her father, who unleashes a catastrophic blast and buries Verdea beneath the mountain. The psychic field in the ring unlocked Cosmo's suppressed memories. Her father was tied to the forbidden relics. He died long ago, but his consciousness was preserved in the ring. The relics were drawn together, causing the TARDIS to crash. Astrobar's echo appears again, helping Cosmo understand her past. With Verdea's influence broken, the townspeople discover their loved ones still alive. They turn to Mayor Stonix, who has secretly served the Vampire Queen for generations. Cosmo and the Doctor's dynamic has shifted for now. Cosmo allows the Doctor a head start, but warns her this isn't over. The story ends with Cosmo and the echo of her father sitting together, finding faces in the stars just as they once did. Hereafter thrives because it finally forces the fugitive Doctor and Cosmo into genuine partnership, then threads that dynamic through a gothic, myth-heavy vampire tale that feels both classic and newly sharpened. What struck me most is how Hereafter uses the crash and the psychic field to strip away all the usual barriers between the Doctor and Cosmo. Their dynamic has always been sharp and entertaining, but here it becomes necessary. They're stranded, hunted, and surrounded by phenomena neither can explain alone. For the first time, their conversations feel like two people genuinely trying to understand each other rather than score points. The face-to-face interactions are electric because the script finally lets them be vulnerable. They're still snarky, still stubborn, and still prickly, but now those traits sit on top of a real emerging partnership. That shift is the emotional core of the story. I love that Hereafter brings the great vampires back into the mythos. Their first appearance in State of Decay laid the foundation, but that story falls flat. The Queen of the Mountain is a far more effective character. She's ancient and regal without being theatrical and quietly terrifying. Her lair, her psychic reach, her hellhound, and her manipulation of the town all build a sense of dread that comes together naturally rather than nostalgic. The moment that really landed for me was the Doctor's deal with the Queen. It's classic Doctor, bold, reckless, and just a little bit smug, but that twist is what makes it sing. She isn't gambling, she isn't hoping. She knows Cosmo's ring will protect her. That's the turning point. The Doctor trusts Cosmo's strength, her instincts, and the relic she carries. The trap is clever, the payoff is satisfying. Hereafter is a strong Fugitive Doctor story because it blends character drama and gothic sci-fi in a way that feels both intimate and epic. The Doctor and Cosmo finally become the duo I've been waiting for. Two flawed, brilliant survivors who realize they're stronger together. So have you listened to the Dead or Alive box set? If you have, well, let us know what you think. You can leave your review in the comments below. And of course, if you're not subscribed to our channel, please consider doing so. And stick around, we'll have more Circuit Breaker reviews, and we'll continue to look into the Fugitive Doctor's storied past. That's going to do it for this time. Until next time, I'm Glenn. Cheers.